I want to welcome everyone for this special day, Dream Days. I want to thank Gabby and Sinas for taking on this big day for all of us. As you can tell, it's been kind of hard for all this because of the pandemic and all the things that we had to go through. And somehow Gabby always find a way to help our students or dreamers, and not just from Fresno City College, but from all the Central Valley. So I want to welcome. Thank you for being here. And all this information is great, so that way you can connect with your counselors and especially with Gabby from Fresno State. So before anything, I would like to introduce my colleague from the counselor from the Dreams, from the Dream Liaison or Dream Counselor from Ridley College, which is Erica Ramos.
Hi, everyone. My name is Erica, and I am here at Ridley College assisting undocumented students. Our guest is not here yet, so I'm gonna go ahead and introduce Elise from College of the Sequoias Visalia.
Hi, everybody. My name is Elise Garcia, and I am the director of the Giant Dream Center and Student Success Program at College of the Sequoias. But today I have the pleasure of introducing Gabby Encinas. I'm so excited to hear all of the great information that she has for us today. She is the coordinator of the Fresno State Dream Success Center. She's also a former Fresno State student and a former dreamer. So let's all give Gabby a big welcome.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think this is our third annual Dream Day, right? Our
Correct.
Third year doing this. Yeah, this is so awesome. You know, the leadership with the coordinators and counselors and directors at the Dream Centers at your community colleges decided that this is super important for all of you to get this information as you're thinking and processing through perhaps extending your education, hopefully at Fresno State. But of course, this information I like for you to take in mind that it's for any of the four-year colleges, whether it be a UC or a CSU. Of course, I'll focus with Fresno State. So go Bulldogs, you know, gotta represent the Bulldogs. But I'm very happy to have you all here today in what I consider some of the most important conversations that we can have, which is your success as you're finishing community college, now coming on to Fresno State. So like Elise mentioned, my name is Gabby Encinas, and I am the coordinator of the Dream Success Center at Fresno State. Take this day as an extension of your education through the Dream Centers at your community colleges, now transitioning on to Fresno State. First and foremost, there's a lot of support for you. And I want you to take this day more than anything that you know who to connect with, how to seek the resources, and let's get you through to the next bridge onto your education. Does that sound like a plan? You can do like the little emojis, thumbs up, thumbs down if you want. But I'm super excited to be sharing a lot of information with you today. We jam-packed a lot of info on 2 hours. We're going to try to get through as much as possible. Right around 3:30 today, I'm going to have one of my colleagues. It's Ken. You're going to get to meet him today. He runs the Transfer Center at Fresno State, but more importantly, he is the coordinator of the new student orientation at Fresno State. So that's one office that I really want you to start connecting with. And so that's going to be super important. Okay, so I'm going to share a PowerPoint presentation, which all of you are going to get a copy of. Please keep an eye on the chat box as I'm going to be explaining a lot of resources for you and a lot of stuff that's going to be going on. My colleagues are going to be sharing the links, but you're also going to get a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, okay? So right around 3:30, like I mentioned, I'll probably stop when we see Ken coming in, and at 4 o'clock, please stick around, don't leave. We have an amazing group of students that are going to be sharing their journey with you all today, so that's going to be critical. So again, it's going to be jam-packed with information, and take this as your first step. okay? We're just going to introduce you to the basics to transition onto Fresno State. And then we're going to open up the opportunity for you to connect with my center, connect with your centers at the community college level. And then also we're going to carry this conversation through to next semester. So please know that this is going to be an ongoing process for all of us, okay? So let me share my screen. And I'm going to go ahead and open up the PowerPoint presentation that it will be shared with all of you today. Okay, and then also please, I welcome you to put all your questions as they're coming up on the chat box. There, you know, my colleagues in the community colleges will help me go through the questions as they're coming in. And if you feel comfortable, you can also unmute yourself and ask your question. But if it's better for you, then you can type the question in the chat box as well. Okay, so again, this is just kind of like getting you started and situated. We're bridging on now your path into Fresno State. So, okay. So let me tell you a little bit more about the Dream Success Center of Fresno State. We are completely dedicating to serving our AB 540, undocumented, DACA, or any dreamer student or a student with different immigration statuses. Maybe some of you might be getting already are well positioned and situated to perhaps get a work permit or a green card based on your different immigration status. And so we are here to serve you as well. Our mission is to empower students through a welcoming and supportive environment, right? We want to provide you access, but more importantly, now that you have the access to colleges, we also care about your success. So our services are holistic in nature. And some of the services that you'll get through us, again, it's of course your help and transition and orientation into Fresno State. That's first and foremost, right? And this is part of that mission. We want to provide you with the academic support and monitor your academic progress. So once you're here, we are your go-to center for a lot of those academic financial aid questions and life after college types of questions as well, right? So we work very closely with the financial aid office and the scholarship office because I know that first and foremost, that is center and vital to your education. And we want to ensure that you get the funding that you need in order for you to continue with your education. And of course, my colleagues and my students in the Dream Success Center, I see one of them that just logged on earlier today. So she will be sharing more about her journey and you know, the road to getting financial aid. We want to promote your student engagement, right? Because as you know, it's not just about going to school, but it's also being fully engaged in your education and your career, whatever that may look like, depending on your immigration status. And so we do promote those events for us, referrals for emotional support, guidance and referrals for career development and life after college. For those of you with DACA, it certainly looks very different for those students that never had the opportunity to apply for DACA. And so understanding and knowing that all of you have different statuses is very key for us. And we want to provide that engagement, that know-how to provide the guidance that you need, whether it be you're going to continue on with your education in the master's program, or perhaps looking for ways to make a living. You know, it looks different for a lot of our students. So we want to make sure that you understand that we are here to support you and advocate for you. Part of the advocacy is, of course, the extension of legal services on campus. So I know your community colleges, your dream centers, they do offer free immigration legal services. If you didn't know, you're hearing it from me. But we do also provide free and confidential immigration legal services with qualified expert immigration attorneys that are available to you. So that's something that you can get here at Fresno State as well. One of the things that I'm going to leave you with is just, this is your call to action. Okay, we want you to start getting connected with our Dream Success Center right now. You don't have to wait until you get admitted to Fresno State or you come to your Dog Days orientation. You know, really the transition starts now. So we're going to leave you with information on how to reach me at the Dream Success Center of Fresno State, how to set up an appointment. And I really do invite you to start setting up appointments with me now so that we can help you now versus when it comes to making payments to the university, right? You get into Fresno State and then you register for classes and then you find out I don't have any financial aid. And we'd rather help you now and avoid a lot of the misinformation that can happen, right? I will give you, I'll help you navigate our website because there's critical information that I want you to gather from there today, which we'll discuss today, okay? One of the things that is going to be very critical as you apply to Fresno State and you set up your logins for now the system here in the CSU, such as your Fresno State email and what have you, the University of Fresno State, we really do start utilizing your Fresno State email once you create it. Once you submit your Fresno State application, you have to create a Fresno State email. And we start utilizing that email. So start getting in the habit of also checking those emails. If you need to integrate it into your personal email, do what you need to do, but do make sure that once it comes to applying to Fresno State and you set up that email account, that you get in the habit of checking that, okay? More to come on that. So let me show you one of the very cool websites that well, I could call it cool. It's a Dream Center website at Fresno State. We have a really great admissions guide and step for dreamers that I'm going to spend the bulk of today going over that. So if you indulge me, I think Lupita or Erica, if you can help me put that on the chat box, the Fresno State website, and I want to show you, I'm sorry, the Fresno State Dream Center website, which is this. And can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because sometimes it doesn't let me know if yeah. Good. I'm glad you're seeing my screen. So this is the Dream Success Center website. Very easy, fresnostate.edu/DSC. So Dream Success Center. On the website, you're going to find a lot of information for you as transfer students. The most important thing right now that I want you to focus on is down here, there's a video also explaining about our services and what have you, but this is the guide that I want you to start downloading and really taking it to heart, the information that's on there. Willie will recognize this because when he was at Fresno State, he actually helped to create this. So I just made a prettier Willie. But right here, we're going to spend some time talking about the laws that allow you to come into Fresno State and pay in-state tuition. So we don't consider you as an international student. And some of you might be familiar with the AB 540 laws, but this sets in motion for you to get financial aid. And these are the state laws that allow you to get state aid. More to come on that. These are really critical steps that I want you to take into consideration. So if you have that handy, maybe like in another slide or what have you with you, and download it for yourself, print it out later on, or however you choose to take the information. Start checking that off as you are applying to Fresno State. So I'll spend the bulk of the time going over this information. And so again, you're going to be able to find that on our website. Questions so far? Anything that has come up? Okay, so again, you'll find that guide for Dreamer students on there. And so let's start talking about what the application process looks like for Fresno State. The application for Fresno State opened up October 1st. And this year, we're going back to normal times, even though we're still in a pandemic, and you know, it's the deadlines have been extended in the past. But for now, this year, as of today, the deadline to apply to Fresno State is November 30th. Okay. And so that's very critical, that by November 30th, you want to apply. Now, this is the main website where you are going to submit your Cal State application. I want you to pay close attention to the deadlines. This is where a lot of our students, particularly our transfer students, fall into some critical missing deadlines. And I don't want you to be one of those students. Maybe I think on if we can put on the chat box, the guide for transfer admissions process, this is the website that I highly recommend that you really tag somewhere or save it, bookmark it on your browsers. This is the main website for transfer students that are considering admissions to Fresno State. Really what I want you to focus on for those of you who are thinking of applying for the fall 22 term. Let me back up. Right here, there's tutorials that helps you navigate the application process. So one of the things that I want you to keep in mind, the application is actually pretty simple, but if it's your first time navigating the CSU apply application, it can get pretty confusing right away, especially when it comes to you noting your community college transferable courses and what have you. I'll give you a guide, and there is one-on-one help that the transfer and recruitment office provides for you guys, okay? But here are the deadlines that I want you to keep in mind. When you apply to Fresno State, this is super critical. Now we're considering the fall 22 deadlines. If you're not coming to fall 22, Fresno State, for the most part, does offer spring 22 admissions, but only for transfer students. This is the first year that we opened it up to returning students, but for you, there might be a possibility of you applying for the spring term rather than, and this would be for you, the spring 23rd term, spring 2023. Okay, but let's focus on fall 22. Again, like I mentioned, the deadlines or the actual open application is October 1st through November 30th. You really want to start focusing on the application now. I promise you're going to have a lot of questions once you go to the CSU Apply website. One of the things that when you're in the CSU Apply website, you want to focus on the term that you are applying. So when you're on here, you are selecting the appropriate term. For you, it will be fall 2022. Okay. Once you're on there, if you've never done this in the past, you will create an account. However, if you've done this in the past, you can try to sign in if you remember your username and password. If not, you can retrieve it. Okay. Again, if that gives you if you have some difficulty with, retrieving passwords, or once you have access to the application, you can go. We have, let me see if I can go to this website and I will show you. Fresno State, you can book an appointment, whether it be, oops, let me go back. Let me show you. You can book a one-on-one appointment, whether it be virtual. I'm not exactly sure how they're doing this year. Last year was all virtual appointments, but if you're on here, you can get live help for your application, or you can schedule an appointment. So please utilize this help. My recommendation to you, don't leave it till like November 30th. It gets really hectic really soon. And remember, their time is a little bit limited sometimes, but they do have workshops available even on the weekends. So the sooner that you get started on this, the better. Also, we have a transfer guide for you, and this is super detailed, even for the counselors here today. I went through it a couple weeks ago, and it's super detailed. So it really does help explain how to answer some of those transfer questions and what have you. And we also have videos on here that helps to explain how to even get started with the CSU application. It goes through it in detail. So that's super critical. Okay. So again, follow the deadline. So let me go back to that website with the deadlines. For you guys, it's going to be a couple step process to doing this whole thing. One of the things that you want to start doing now, particularly, early January would be a really good time to start updating your classes if you're taking classes in the spring semester, to also upload that information for spring term if you didn't do it in November. Remember, they're going to be asking you what you're taking currently right now, fall 21 term, and if you're going to come back for spring 22, they're going to ask you to upload that information. If for whatever reason you don't know what you're taking for spring, you have until January to update that information on, or your courses that you would be in progress at that time. But the deadline to submit your transcripts to the university and any other documents, which I'll get to right now, will be February 1st. Super critical that everything is turned in on time. Let me go back to the admission steps for Dreamers. When you're in the CSU Apply application, they will ask you questions such as your social security number. If you have DACA or perhaps another work permit with a social security number, you can enter that in the CSU application. But if you don't have a social security number, don't worry about it. You can just leave that blank. Okay. There might be a spot in the CSU application when it comes to the social security number that it'll ask if you do not have a social security number, click that box. You could do that as well. But if you have DACA, or if you have a social security number because you have a work permit, either through a U visa or another type of work permit, do enter that social security number. It is important. When it comes to the citizenship question, when it says your US citizenship status, you're going to select none. Okay, that's very critical. Then the system is going to ask you this most important, even more important than citizenship. It's going to ask if you claim California residency. You're going to select yes. A lot of our students get kind of confused about that question. So when they ask about California residency in the CSU Apply application, it doesn't mean in the federal legal permanent residency kind of way. What it means is, are you, do you live in California and do you intend to live in California? That is the question that's going to prompt you actually being able to qualify for these laws, the AB 540 laws. So it's super critical that you note that you are not a US citizen, but that you do claim California residency. Okay. The logic in the CSU application, it's also going to ask you, well,
Gabby, you're muted.
I just saw that. I don't know why. I promise you I didn't press anything, but you guys can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Okay, thank you. So what I was mentioning was when you put no citizenship status, but you do claim California residency, and that's critical. All of you should be saying yes to the California residency. The system is going to also ask, where are you from? What country are you from? And when did you first enter the country, right? That is to prompt the system to say, you might qualify for this AB 540 law. And I'll talk about what that means and what critical steps you need to take. These are the laws that allow students, all of our Dreamer students, DACA students, undocumented students, to pay in-state residency tuition rates, right? So you are not considered an international student. They're not going to ask you for any type of visa or what have you. What the AB 540 law, and I do recognize that there are some questions on the chat box, hopefully, but we'll get to those in just a bit. The California laws that you need to take into account is AB 540, that we normally call this California non-resident tuition exemption. AB 540, but there have been an extension of AB 540 through 2 more laws, AB 2000 and SB 68. Basically, what that tells us is any student, whether you're a US citizen, legal permanent resident, or an undocumented student, or maybe have status through DACA or other forms of visas, for example, U visa or what have you, you can qualify to pay in-state tuition rates and get financial aid through the California Dream Act. More to come on that. You have to have 2 requirements. One is your attendance and coursework. So this is why those questions in the CSU Apply application is super critical that you answer them. We have to see that you've at least attended 3 years or more in California of any schooling in California. So that could be K through 12, including up to 2 years of community college. And that you have your degree, either from a California high school through a high school diploma or GED. When you go through the CSU application, they will be asking those questions. That's where the citizenship and the residency, and then when did you first enter the country? That's where it's going to become very important. And of course, all your coursework and data that you are that you attended in community colleges. When you submit your application to Fresno State, you are going to be required to submit evidence of this AB 540. You have to let them know, hey, I qualify for this AB 540. And that is the most critical thing you're going to need. In addition to your CSU application, this residency documents, that's what when we say residency documents, that's what we're referring to. These, you have to claim that you do qualify under the AB 540 law and your financial aid. This is super critical. When you look at the deadlines that Fresno State provides for you, this is what we mean by document deadline. Super important, you guys. You submit your CSU application, you fill it out correctly on time. You're going to be prompted to submit these documents. So let me show you what that looks like. Some of you, for the most part, this is the AB 540 form that you're going to need to fill out. And this is where we come in. You can schedule an appointment with us to help you fill it out. It's actually quite simple, but if it's your first time seeing it, please do not, don't ignore these messages that you're going to get from Fresno State, and don't ignore my phone calls or emails. I'll probably be reaching out to you saying, hey, you have these residency documents, or please, if you already feel comfortable going to your dream centers at the community colleges, they too can help you, or they'll probably, refer you to me. I'm perfectly happy to assist you. But this is super critical that by February 1st, the university receives these documents. Again, this is for fall 22 admissions, but this is where you're going to note the campus that you're applying. Most of you will check off this one. I do not have a current non-immigrant visa. So this refers to our DACA students or completely undocumented students. But if you have a T or U visa, this is where you need to check off. But again, this is critical. Don't worry if it's unique to you. This is where I want you to make an appointment with us. You have to claim where you did your 3 years of attendance in a California school and that you actually graduated, right? You would have to submit it to the admissions office, and please, this is super critical. This is something that you can start also doing in preparation to your admissions application. You do have to provide official transcripts when it comes to these residency documents. If you're going to be claiming that you did at least 3 years of school in your high school, we do need official high school transcripts. You do need to submit them to Fresno State along with this form. And again, this is going to be more to come after you submit your application in November. This is where we can come in and help you along the way. I want to stop and pause for just a minute. I'm not sure if my colleague Ken is here in the Zoom call now, and I'd like to turn it over to him because he so graciously is taking time to share with you another resource in addition to Fresno State's Dream Success Center. But Ken Ternate is the coordinator of our new student orientation along with the Transfer Center at Fresno State. And he's going to share with you yet another resource to help you transition into Fresno State. So hi, Ken. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, Gabby.
Hi.
Happy to be here. I'm actually at home in my wife's office, so ignore the giant Frida wall behind me.
No, we will not ignore it because we love it.
Yeah, so like Gabby said, I oversee the Office of New Student and Family Programs, which includes the Transfer Success Center. So I just wanted to drop by and let you know that we're here to assist you, one of the resources on campus. Once you're a Fresno State student, the Transfer Success Center we're really just a hub for questions, almost like a concierge service. A lot of the students who transfer in after dog days, after orientation, which I also run, once the transfer students get here, sometimes it can be really difficult to navigate the university. There are 8 colleges and schools on campus, or it's really decentralized in regards to some of the services. So most of the stuff that we typically help with at the Transfer Success Center is just, you don't know where to go, you don't know who to answer your question. Students will typically come to our office so we can help guide them right through all the different policies, all of the different things that are going on at the university. So right now, it seems like that's our main purpose, is really just helping people navigate the university, helping transfer students navigate. We also have a mentoring program. If you're feeling lost, or you just, maybe you don't know anyone else at Fresno State, we connect transfer students with other upper division transfer students who've been around for a while, and they act as mentors. We do a lot of workshops and events. Before COVID, we did an experiential learning trip. So it's one of those things where we're trying to expose you to as much as possible at the university, knowing that for the most part, you want to get in and out in your 2, maybe 3 years, right? So we know that first semester is really critical, right? If you get started off on the right foot, then the possibility of you getting in and out pretty quickly exists, rather than sort of stumbling through your first semester. And that's a lot of what we saw in the past. The university knows for the most part that we've sort of underserved transfer students coming in, right? A lot of our services were really geared towards first year students. So that's what the Transfer Success Center is doing, is to try to make that up. We do some advising. All of the colleges have their own advising center, right? But depending on your college, it may be really difficult, right, to meet with an advisor in a really timely manner. So within the Transfer Success Center, it's sort of peer advising, but it's a lot of guidance in regards to how to read your degree progress report, right? We can run what if degree progress reports if you're, for some reason, maybe you were admitted as undeclared because your GPA wasn't high enough for your original major, or whatever it might be. So that's the type of advising we do, is really peer advising, but helping you to decipher and read and figure out where you're getting credit, who you need to contact if you need to petition a class or whatever it might be. So it's a lot of that type of thing, but it's really just connecting you to the campus, and then making sure you're aware of resources, let's say like the Career Development Center, who has a career fair this week, getting your internships early on, figuring out what you want to do if you want to navigate and maybe get a master's. Those are the types of questions that we take care of at the Transfer Success Center. There's actually 2 parts for transfer students. Before you're a Fresno State student, it's typically with admissions and recruitment that you're connecting with, right? They have a, sort of transfer ambassadors as you're trying to apply, navigating some of the stuff that Gabby's talking about. But once you're at Fresno State, the Transfer Success Center is definitely a place where you can always drop by. We do a lot of book events. We have like a coffee station for those students who are like, oh, I can't afford coffee. There's like a Keurig in the office and provide coffee supplies. And then we also there's other things, but we do free t-shirts for all the transfer students. So for those of you, when you attend Dog Days, you'll have an opportunity to get your t-shirt there, or you can come to the office. But essentially, we know that a lot of transfer students have expressed, and sort of all of our contact with new students is that it's really difficult to transfer. Sometimes you just don't know where to go, right? You may have been at the community college for 1, 2, 7 years, whatever it might be, and coming to Fresno State, it feels really foreign. So that's why we're just here to make sure that as you're transferring, as you're navigating, and as you're trying to get to your graduation date, that we're there to help, that we're there to assist. We work a lot with Gabby, not just for the Transfer Success Center, but for Dog Days and all of that. But we just want to make sure that everyone knows, because we were really launching right before COVID, and then COVID happened, so everything sort of stalled. So we want to make sure that transfer students particularly know that there's a service just for you, so that you don't sort of have to feel lost, not knowing where to go. You can come to us.
And would you be able to share contact information where they
Yes.
go to so that way all of you have yet another resource? I would say definitely the Transfer Center with Ken's team, and then definitely with the Dream Success Center. So you have two go-to places where we can help you, particularly once you get admitted to Fresno State and you go through your Dog Days orientation. Even before, as you submit or accept your admissions into Fresno State, there's that critical period before or a little bit after your new student orientation where a lot of you're like, oh, I have the wrong major.
Yeah.
Or, how do I know what to take or what have you, right? Ken, your office is also available for that.
Yeah, we do that. That's a lot of what we do, is just a transitioning in, because we get a lot of transfer students now with a lot of the majors being impacted on campus. Sometimes if you're not reading your email, it feels like all the time, you may not know that you are now undeclared because you don't meet the GPA requirement for your major, right? Or we still get transfer students coming in who, I don't know, you're trying to get through the process, and the counselors at like your community college, everywhere, I mean, there's a lot of things that they're supposed to know, you know what I mean? But they're trying to know all 23 CSU campuses, all the UCs, so there's a lot of room for misadvising, just because, they're trying to do so much and trying to help you. So we want to make sure as much as possible that within those first couple of weeks, whether it's during the summer, right after your Dog Days in July, or well into the semester, that there's someone there that you feel like you can connect with. So I put our email there. I have one of our graduate students who monitors the email and does all of that. The website's there, but it's really, like I said, we just want to make sure that we get you connected early and start it off quickly, knowing that you're trying to get in and out pretty fast. Unlike freshmen who have 4, 5, 6 years, we know all of you have family commitments, a lot of other things going on, maybe full-time jobs. So one semester can really throw you off track. So we want to make sure as much as possible we're getting you connected.
That's awesome, Ken. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you. Does anybody have any questions? I didn't see any questions for Ken. If you do, you can type them up, or if you feel comfortable, you can unmute yourself before we hand over the Zoom floor to me.
Yeah, I'll stay on for a couple of minutes if you want to type in your chat. Otherwise, you can email it directly to the Transfer Success email. And they don't have to be just Transfer Success. If you have questions about Dog Days.
Correct.
No, they're after 4th of July. All the transfer dates during the summer are always after 4th of July, like the 3rd and 4th weeks of July. And the reason that is, and I'll answer that now, is admissions needs time to process all of your transcripts. It takes them quite some time. That's why transfer orientations are held after freshmen. But also, when you're signing up for Dog Days, get the earliest one possible.
Please.
Because you register for classes at Dog Days. So if you're coming at the end, that one in August, there's not going to be much classes left for you. So as much as possible, register for Dog Days early. The registration system for all of you coming in the fall will open on March 15th.
Okay, so before you know it, March is here. You're getting admitted to Fresno State and what have you. So thank you so much, Ken. Yeah,
No problem. That'd be good.
Definitely register early for that new student orientation. I did notice a couple questions that I want to address. Someone said they applied for next semester and got accepted, but you're not sure if you're going to go next semester. So I'm assuming like right now in the spring, right? Would I need to apply again, or is there a way I can extend that acceptance to fall 22? Typically, if you're not planning to attend, so if you got accepted for spring 22, but you want to come back for fall instead, what I'm assuming in that question is, there is a critical period within admissions that you do have to let them know, or you might want to appeal for you to come back. That normally happens in a normal cycle. So for example, those of you who were accepted for fall, but want to extend it for spring, there is that possibility. I don't believe for this one, they're allowing that. So we have a couple options for you. Definitely send me, and I'm going to put my email address, or maybe Lupita or Erica, you can help me. You can put my email on the chat box. Let's set up an appointment. I can help you connect with the proper admissions office and representative for transfer students to see if there is still a way to petition for you to extend it in the fall. Otherwise, we are looking at for another application cycle for you. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Someone else says you have a work permit and social security from a U visa. Earlier today, you received notice that your green card and permanent residency card was approved, so congratulations. Now that I applied to transfer, most likely for spring 2023, will I still file for the DREAM Act financial aid or instead of FAFSA? So this is a really good question that I see a lot, which is kind of good. So you might have some status currently, maybe DACA or U visa or what have you. And then later on, you get a notification that you are going to, in fact, receive a green card. Once you get your green card, the most important step is that you need to update your social security card. If you have one, say under DACA, in your case, U visa, you have the condition that says it's only valid for work authorization, correct? Once you become a green card holder, you would need to update your social security card with the Social Security Administration, and they remove the condition. So you'll get your new social security card without that condition. That prompts the system to know that you are a green card holder, an LPR, legal permanent resident holder, and your social security card doesn't have, or number doesn't have that condition. At that point, yes, you are eligible for the FAFSA. Many times students are still kind of waiting. They don't know. I recommend that we start off with the California DREAM Act application. And once you get your LPR status, your legal permanent residency, and you get your new social security card without that condition, we can swap over the application. So start with the DREAM Act and then do their FAFSA once you have LPR status, and then I can help you. It is a multi-step process, so never try to do this alone. I suppose you can do it alone, but if you want guidance, we're here for you, okay? So thank you for that. So if you, in your situation, if you want to wait until spring semester, see where your status is, yeah, at that point, please, by all means, you would be able to do the FAFSA, okay? So thank you so much, Lupita, for putting my email. And we have so much to cover, so I want to make sure that we continue on. Share. Okay, so I did mention with the deadlines, and that's what Ken was also talking about. Those of you who will be doing the ADT, you're noting on your CSU apply application that you are transferring, we call it the ADT verification. It does need to be, so you're the transfer with a guarantee, right? Your degree is noted at the end, or AAT, AST. It does need to be verified by someone in the community college. And maybe for our counselors right here, do you know, is that something the Dream Centers can do, or is that the counseling center does for our students?
At Clovis, I can do it, Gabby. This is Carla Stoner Vito. So, and if anyone's on from Clovis, I'm happy to help you. We can do it for you here in my office or on Zoom.
Oh, great.
This is Jose from Madera Community College. We do it both ways, either with the regular counselor or myself. I have done it a couple in the past.
Perfect. And maybe our Erica or Willie, Lupita, do you know how that works, or in COS as well?
With Fresno City, I'm not too familiar, I'm not sure yet, but I will find out the information. I don't know if Willie may have more information about it.
Yeah, so something to consider, even if you don't know what that is, some of you probably do have the designation of ADT or the transfer with a guarantee. It does need to be verified. One of your other key things that you kind of need to start putting in the back of your head as you're planning is meet with your counselors and tell them, hey, what's this deal with the ADT? Do I have that? Will I need it? And it's, if you do have that, on your transcript, your community college transcript, it's really critical that we have that information as well in admissions, okay?
Gabby, can I say one little thing related to that topic?
Yes.
So for those attending Madera Community College, if you have an updated ed plan, comprehensive student educational plan with the counselor, I advise that you go with that counselor, the one who created your ADT, your, ed plan. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so Willie?
Yeah, we here at Fresno City College, Gabby, before anything, what they do, they go through an evaluation process right before they graduate everything, before even they can apply to graduation. So, and they know they're in track for the ADT or graduation requirements or things like that. And that's how they evaluate if they completed the ADT.
Perfect. Okay.
And
yeah.
Gabby, before we move on, COS, they would need to meet with their counselor.
They do meet with the counselor. Okay, perfect. And Liz said, thank you from West Hills. They did mention that it could be an automatic process once you complete your petition to graduation. So as you noticed, keep that in mind. You know, if you don't know, just meet with your counselors and definitely reach out to them to find out, because we will need to know that information. Okay, let me go back to sharing my screen. You will start getting admitted into Fresno State right around the March time, sometimes even before that. So you're gonna start being able to accept your admissions right around March, and then it goes, you know, all the way until June 30th. You're gonna be able to confirm your attendance with Fresno State. So that's gonna be very critical. More to come on that, but this is just to give you some insight into what that process is like, right? I want to move on with financial aid. Does that sound okay with you guys? Do you, little thumbs up? Do you have any last minute questions about admissions? And again, this is just to get us started with the conversation. There is so much more to cover on that, but I want you to definitely keep in mind that you can always reach out to us just for kicks right now before I get moving. I'm gonna show you where to get a hold of us. Let me give that to you now instead of waiting till the end. This is our contact information. The phone number is my direct extension here in the Dream Center. Our main Dream Center email is the dreamsuccess@mail.fresnostate.edu, but I recommend, you know, email me directly. So gencinas@CSU Fresno. And if you do have social media, follow us on our handles. On our social media handles, we do provide a lot of information for students. So again, I'll share that in just a bit. And I believe you're gonna all get a copy of this presentation. This is the most critical part of this AB 540 and why turning in your documents on time is going to be super critical. Once we determine that you do qualify through AB 540, and remember, this is not an automatic process. You're going to have to submit those forms, that AB 540 form. Try, if it's confusing, please don't worry, just reach out to us. We can help you fill it out. But once the admissions office has your AB 540 documents and they do determine that you do in fact qualify for this AB 540, that is the easiest path, one of the easiest paths to get financial aid, because that nothing can happen without that, right? You qualify, if you qualify under AB 540, again, remember, we're looking at a minimum 3 years of attendance in a California school, That could be K through 12, all the way up to 2 years of community college. We can only count up to 2 years college bearing courses in the community college. So that's critical. Okay. And then you also have to either have your high school diploma or GED. That sets in motion for you to receive what we call state aid through the California Dream Act. The California Dream Act is what allows you to get assistance to pay for your tuition fees, and through either the Cal grants, and I'll show you what that looks like. So it's a series of laws, AB 130, AB 131, and AB 1210 allows you to get state aid. The state aid comes in different forms. You can either get Cal grants. Cal grants, as you may know, you may or may not know, is for your first 4 years of college. Time started at the time you started at the community college. So for some of you, you've only been there 2 years. For some of you might be longer. For some of you, you probably went straight from high school, but then took some time off and came back. All of that time matters. And so if you don't know where you land, this is where I really want to invite you to schedule an appointment with me so we can discuss your options, right? What it is you have options with. So your state aid can come in the form of Cal grants, the state university grant. If you're AB 540, you also qualify for this amazing program. It's the extension, over there at community colleges, EOPS. Over here, we call it EOP. So you can get into those support services. And we have the EOP grant here at Fresno State. You may be able to have access to a middle class scholarship. For those of you who were part of foster care or were ever part of that, you have access to the Chafee grant. There is also, all of these are free money, the grants, the scholarship, but we also have a loan program through the Dream Act, and I'll show you. And then you have access to the Fresno State scholarships. So again, I'm very visual, so I kind of like to see it, what you might have access to. Most of you may have access to the Cal grants. There's 2 options for Cal grants, either A or B. Now, some of you are familiar at community college, you get the California Promise Grant, which helps you pay for your tuition over there. We don't have that here at a 4-year, okay? But these are the resources. And depending on what you get, it can help to at least pay all of tuition. Sometimes depending on your grants and scholarships, you'll have enough to cover fees as well. So some of our students do get pretty much everything paid for. If not, they may have a little bit of out-of-pocket expense. But this is what it looks like. And I can do an individual assessment to see where you would be at in terms of funding for you. But for your first 4 years, we have Cal grants. Now that all depends on whether you put Cal grants on hold while you were at community colleges and what have you. But now that you're transferring, it may look a little different, right? For those of you who are student parents, if you have children, there may be a possibility to, one of the Cal grants, Cal Grant B, has an opportunity for you to get even more funding that they would normally give. So, but if you don't have Cal grants, and a lot of you, and I see that a lot of our transfer students, you might think, shoot, well, I'm already, I've been at the community colleges longer than 4 years, and the Cal grants also have an age limit. So by the time you turn 27, 28, you no longer qualify for Cal grants. So a lot of them think, well, there's nothing for me, so you don't do the application. And so please, 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 I'm here to tell you, you can get financial aid, okay? If you don't qualify for Cal grants, Fresno State, the CSU, any of the 23 CSU campuses, we have what's called the State University Grant. It's available up to 150 units. So a lot of people think, well, I'm past my 4 years. State University grant works differently. For you to graduate from Fresno State, you only need 120 units. So they even give you some wiggle room there. Up to 150 units, you can apply to see if you qualify for the State University grant, right? It is based on income. Of course, all of these are based on income. So that's why I recommend that you schedule an appointment with me and we can do an assessment again. You know, I don't want you to be surprised with a lot of when it's too late, you know, so let's work together. For those of you with slightly higher income, there might be an opportunity for you to get what's called a middle class scholarship. And there's also the Dream Loan. So we find that a lot of our students, yeah, they get Cal grants, or maybe they'll get the state university grant. You'll get either one of those, but you still need more funding to cover additional expenses. We also have the Dream Loan program. And so I can certainly help you make sense of all of that. But before any of that happens, this is what you need to start doing. This is the website for the California Dream Act. And again, it is super critical that you follow the deadlines. You guys, like, I cannot emphasize enough how important it is for you to not let that March 2nd deadline pass. If you miss the March 2nd deadline, does that mean you cannot submit the Dream Act application? No, you can still submit it. It's just you're not going to be considered priority for them to look at your file. But it's better to submit it late than never, but it's even better to submit it earlier and on time. Okay. So the Dream Act this year does have a new look. And so everybody's struggling to get their logins in order and stuff like that. I urge you and beg you to like start playing around so you really get your username and passwords in order, so that we can help you start getting into the Dream Act application. There's a couple things that I want you to keep in mind at this stage in your education too. It's super critical. Again, like I mentioned, early and on time. And this is, please, try to do this if you really are unsure about certain questions. Try to talk to either your Dream Center at the community college or with me, and we can help you make sense of the application and correctly add the information and submit it correctly the first time, and hopefully only once. You can go back and make corrections. That's not a problem. But because the Dream Act may not be necessarily an automated process for most of the financial aid offices, it becomes really, it ties down your application to be processed on time and in a timely manner. So I recommend that you do it correctly the first time and submit it, you know, hopefully once, and we don't have to make too many corrections. Okay. And you know, sometimes I see students making mistake after mistake after mistake, and trust me, it's not as automated as you think. So if they see too many mistakes on there and lots of corrections, and people always make mistakes, it just, yeah, it'll be August and you might still not be getting an award, and school is about to start and you need to make payments. So I recommend that definitely reach out to your support programs there, like us in the Dream Center. Is there any questions that have come up regarding this? Oh, yes. Can you get assistance to fill out the Dream Act? I recommend that definitely get assistance, especially because you're starting a new school and what have you. Especially if you're transferring to Fresno State, definitely reach out to us at the Dream Success Center, Fresno State. If you're still continuing your education with your at your community college, you can go to your community college Dream Centers. Okay. Something to keep in mind when you do your Dream Act application, your California Dream Act. Now, let me back up and say something very important that some students miss along the way. You do not need to have DACA. And remember, DACA is the work permit and temporary relief from deportation. You do not need to have a DACA status to be able to apply for the Dream Act application. So a lot of students confuse that, and there's a lot of misinformation. So you don't even have to have a social security number to apply to the Dream Act. So please know, if you yourself, or you know any family members or any students, anybody that you know that kind of has those doubts, please let them know that that's not having a social, not having DACA is not going to prevent them from getting the money that they need. What you will need is the AB 540. So submitting those forms, again, it's super critical. And yes, we can also help you do those forms. Okay, so one of the things you need to start looking out for, in order for, when you submit the DREAM Act application, of course, they'll always ask for your name, but in order for the financial aid office to match you to get you some awards, 3 things need to match. Your name needs to match in 3 different locations. Your school records, for you, would be that community college. Your name has to match with the admissions application that you're going to do to Fresno State, and of course your California DREAM Act. So the reason why I say that is, especially for those of us who may have the DACA status, or you know, or maybe no DACA status, but most of us from different countries, we have in Latin America, we have the 2 last names, right? Like my maiden name was Gabriela Delgado Garcia, but I was only used to saying Gabriela Delgado, right? And so sometimes you might do one application with 2 last names, other times with 1 last name. And so we can't match you. A couple things are gonna happen when you do the DREAM Act. You're gonna, the admissions and the DREAM Act knows that you attended community college. So however your name appears in the community college, that's how they're gonna submit your GPA to now your new school to see if you're eligible for aid. So that means that admissions and the DREAM Act, all these, the name has to match. So my recommendation is look at your school records at the community college and use that name for your admissions application for your California DREAM Act. Now, if they don't match, or you're like, oh shoot, I just submitted those things and I don't know if they match, don't worry, we can always update your records with either entity. Okay. Some of you may have your 2 last names because you have DACA. So your DACA and your social security number under DACA, or either your U visa, that's the correct name to use. But if it doesn't match your school records in the community college, you might want to consider changing that, and also changing it with the California Student Aid Commission, which runs the DREAM Act. Again, those kinds of situations, you can always make an appointment with me and I can help you with that. But what's critical, and if we're running out of time, the most important thing is, like, let's just use the name that's on your school record right now, and then follow through with admissions, and then follow through with the DREAM Act. Okay. And your school of attendance is really important. For those of you who are transferring for fall 22 and spring 20, fall 22, spring 23, this deadline, the October 1st through March 2nd, is for that next year, fall 22, spring 23. So wherever you're going to be attending, that's what you want to put for your school of attendance. So what we see with community college students is that we have them put in their community college and then not put Fresno State, or maybe put community college first and then Fresno State. It doesn't work that way, you guys. You guys need to put now the 4-year college, in this case Fresno State, as your school of attendance of number 1 choice. And then if you want to add your community college just in case, you could do that. Okay. But that's how we can read in, especially if you have Cal Grants. That's going to be very critical. If you're a male student, again, all of this is explained, and I realize that we're a little bit past 4, and I do want to, if our student panelists are here, I'm going to get to you in just a bit, but all of this is explained on that guide. So this is where I have information about the EOP program. The EOP program is part of the CSU application, you guys. So if you really want to be a part of the Education Opportunity Program, don't forget that before you submit your CSU Apply application, that's where the EOP application is also embedded. So I recommend that you definitely take a look at that. When you do your CSU Apply application, at the end, they will ask you for housing income information and how many people live in the household. That's what's going to prompt the application to perhaps give you a fee waiver. So that way it waives the application to the CSU. Okay. So that's going to be critical. Same thing for EOP. This is where we have the residency documentation information. And now we're getting to the DREAM Act. So again, October 1st through March 2nd. For all our male students, regardless of your immigration status, you have to register with Selective Service. So if you've already registered with Selective Service, what you need to do is get a hold of that confirmation that the letter that they mailed you, or you can retrieve from the website, where you can show proof that you did in fact register with Selective Service. It's a letter with your name and it's a registration number. We need to prove. It's part of federal law. In order for you to get financial aid, we need to show proof of Selective Service. If you're older than 26 and never did Selective Service, there is another form that you need to fill out. Again, for those kinds of questions, please reach out to us now. And it's better to reach out to us now versus later. Okay. And if you've never registered with Selective Service, you can go to the website. And it's also on the PowerPoint presentation, sss.gov. There is a form that you need to fill out and mail in. Whether you have a social security number or not, it doesn't matter. You can still register for Selective Service. And if you have questions, please reach out to us. 30% of students are randomly selected for verification once you submit a financial aid application, whether it be a DREAM Act or a FAFSA. In your case, a DREAM Act for the most part. This is what's called your student center, your My Fresno State, your student portal. We call it different things here at Fresno State. But this is kind of your equivalent of your web advisor at the community college. This is the platform that we use to send you notifications, anything having to do with admissions. You're gonna have to, once you submit your CSU application, you're going to have to create a login, which is your Fresno State email and your login to your student portal here. And this is what it looks like. Any to-do list items, please do not ignore them. This is where you're going to see the AB 540 residency documents that we need them and where to submit them. If you see things like verification, this is your note that you were selected for verification from financial aid. You're going to have to submit additional documents to the financial aid office to confirm that you're eligible for aid. And again, it can get confusing. It's a whole different system. So please, again, this is why we're here. And this is why we're going to assist you. And we can always help you make sense of that. All of those kinds of things have deadlines. Do not miss them. Those deadlines are for financial aid are typically June 1st. But again, more to come on that. You are also all eligible for the Fresno State Scholarship. All you need to do is have your CSU application on file, and then you're going to be able to create your Fresno State email. With that login, you have access to the application to receive Fresno State Scholarship. It is one application for hundreds and hundreds of different types of scholarship opportunities for you. So while you're applying to Fresno State, doing your DREAM Act application, also submit the Fresno State Scholarship. It opens up October 1st, and surprise, surprise, the deadline's March 2nd. Okay. Questions so far? Do we have any questions, Lupita or Erica? Are we okay?
Yes, Gabby, there were a couple of questions in the chat and someone was raised their hand. Let me go back.
It was Berlin who was raising her hand.
Yeah, I want to ask my question here better. So if we submit the application for the financial aid, because I did it today, for Fresno City, do we have to do it again for Fresno State? Because I'm going to be transferring on fall 2022.
Perfect. No, don't worry. You don't need to do a separate one. So it's one application. What I recommend, and you did it just today, right? So give it about 3 days, let the system process. After, it'll be shorter than that, but give it 3 days. After 3 days, go back to the same application, log in, and then go back and add that school, Fresno State.
Even though I haven't even
applied?
done anything, apply.
Oh, yeah,
done anything.
yeah, that's not
Okay.
a problem. Yeah, not a problem. And same thing, I think I saw a question with another
Thank you.
student with, oh, you're welcome. And with Jasmine, said, if we're applying to several universities, do we list them all on the DREAM Act application? That's correct. List them all. So if you're thinking Fresno State, UC Merced, UCLA, Cal State Bakersfield, list them all. Once you know 100%, once you accept your admissions to one of the schools, once you know, you could do a couple things. If you're still eligible for Cal Grants, you want to list your school of attendance on the web grants page. That's a separate one. And again, all of that is listed on that admission steps guide. Okay, so that's why I want you to download and print that for yourself. You can do it that way, or you can go back to the DREAM Act application and then start removing those schools. But even better, contact the school of attendance, your financial aid office, or the Dream Center, and really connect with them. So that way the application matches that's the school that you're attending. Okay, so for now, list all the schools that you're thinking you're going to apply to, and then go from there. Okay. Okay. A couple last minute things before we head over to our panelists, student panelists. And so if you ever need to contact the financial aid office here at Fresno State, this is the contact information. So you can always go to their website, call them. Now, calling is a hit and miss, you guys. I'm not gonna lie. They get hundreds of calls, and they only have a limited number of staff. But I mean, that's at your disposal. There's also their financial aid web email. But you can also contact me. We have one of the things that I'm very proud of, especially also with your Dream Centers in the community colleges. We work so closely with the financial aid offices in our respective campuses. So sometimes if it gets kind of difficult to connect with the financial aid offices, you can also connect with us, especially here at Fresno State. I have a really good collaboration with our financial aid office. And sometimes it's easier to get a hold of me, and then I can contact them on your behalf. So please feel free to reach out to me. You already have my contact information, my phone number, my email address, and do follow us on social media. We will be posting a lot of information on there. Email me definitely as soon as you can, letting them know, hey, I attended Dream Day today. I like to start getting connected. I put you on a listserv because any of the events that I'm going to be hosting from this point forward, I like to already start inviting you. So on October 14th, I have a much more in-depth session on financial aid, what to expect here at Fresno State. Before I hand it over to our student panelists, I know that we invited some folks from the financial aid offices in the community colleges. Is there, or maybe even the counselors, anything else you'd like to add to what we discussed today? Oh, thank you everybody for putting your contact information on there. Any questions before we turn it over to our panelists about financial aid? Oh, yay. Oh, Milagros. Cool. Awesome. Thank you. So Milagros is from the financial aid office, and they're at Reedley College. So you can also email her as well. And again, like I mentioned to all of you, we have really good connections. So sometimes our students prefer to reach out to the Dream Centers before going to the financial aid office. So you can certainly do that. You made connections with me today. So I highly, highly encourage you. I look forward to hearing from you. Email me. Let's set up an appointment. If you need help, like with maybe making corrections to the Dream Act, the CSU application, please go ahead and do that, okay? And so, Berlin, that was a great question. What you said is like, you haven't even applied to the colleges. Should you even put it in the Dream Act? Yes, because, lots of things can change. And so definitely we can help you with that. Okay, you guys, I talked so much. So right now I invited 3 of my current students. Maybe you can, if you don't mind, we have Jeanette, Lisette, and also Luis here with us today. We invited them to come and talk to you about their experiences as transfer students and what they've gone through. I know Luis and Jeanette are, this is their first semester here, and Lisette is about to graduate from Fresno State, and they were all transfer students, and I'm so happy that they are here with us today to share some information. So I'm going to go one by one. So I see Lisette, you turned on your camera, so we'll go one by one. Jeanette, I'm sorry, Lisette, can you introduce yourself, your name, your major, and what you're planning to do after graduation?
All right. Well, hi, everyone. My name is Lucía Escalera. I don't use Alvarez that much because I don't. But my major is Spanish, so Español. I'm really excited about it. I do graduate this semester from Fresno State. It would have been last semester, but I chose this semester.
What community college are you from, Lisette?
I'm from COS here in Visalia. So I transferred from COS. What Miss Gabby and Sina talked about, the whole Dream Act application and stuff, I didn't know about, and I told her when she helped me out the first time, I didn't know about it at the beginning when I was at COS, but after I transferred to Fresno State, she helped me out with filling out my whole Dream Act application, and that's how I go to school.
Thank you, Lisette. And let me turn it over to Jeanette. Same thing, Jeanette, your name, what community college you transfer from, and major.
Hi, I'm Jeanette. My major is currently speech language pathology, and I transferred over from West Hills College Lemoore. It actually was a really good idea to reach out to Gabby, because I was afraid that I wouldn't be able to attend Fresno State due to financial reasons. And she guided me through every step with scholarships to apply to the general scholarship of Fresno State, the Dream Act, because I had filled it out wrong, and things like that. Also, just don't give up. That's one thing that I will say, because a lot of the times I was like, oh, I won't be able to attend. I won't have the money for it. And she made me be like, no, there's different resources for you, so don't give up yet. So throughout the summer, she helped me apply for different things and make sure that I had options.
And Jeanette, I met you through one of these events, right? The Dream Day.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
She took it to heart. So she was one of the first ones that emailed me, and I was like, yeah, let's just do this, and it's interesting how we come across students like yourselves. Lisette, I met her once she was here, admitted, and what have you. But Luis, I've met you too, well into before you even started applying to Fresno State, right? So would you like to introduce yourself to our students here today?
Yes, my name's Luis Alvarez. My current major right now is pre-psychology at Fresno State. I transferred from Fresno City College last semester to this new semester at Fresno State. And honestly, like, my best decision I've ever made is getting in contact with Gabby. She made my transfer application so much smoother from Fresno City to Fresno State.
I did not pay them to say this, you guys, but it just goes to show you that you really do need someone that's going to understand you deeply, your situation, and how to help you, right? And I think the Dream Centers are really, all of them, like in the community colleges and here at Fresno State, we're really designed to help you with that. The best way, and I'm sorry if some of you don't speak Spanish, but with that, that warmth in our heart, that calor in our heart, right? To help you out. Lisette, let's start with you. What would you say were some of the challenges as you transferred into Fresno State?
I guess not being aware of what to do at such a huge school. Well, well, I don't know if Jeanette and Luis, I don't know if they're in person or virtual, but for me, starting, I am the first out of 3 daughters to be the first one to go to college and be the first one to graduate, almost graduating. So I had to figure out everything on my own. And it was very scary to step foot into Fresno State. I feel like I wouldn't belong, but even if you're afraid of it, there's a spot for you at Fresno State somewhere in there, but you will never feel like people are criticizing you or they're judging you, because they're the nicest people ever. So I guess I will say I was really afraid of everything. The whole cambios changing and, being a girl and being there, being so tiny. Everyone was just so tall. Guys are so tall and everything. So yeah, I guess that was my biggest fear and challenge.
And for you, Janet, as you were transferring to Fresno State, what was that challenge and what was that application process like for you coming into Fresno State?
So for me, it was also not knowing what I needed to do. I did get some help from my West Hills Dream Center, but it was better to reach out to you, of course, because Fresno State, and they actually gave me your email. And then when I attended one of these, I was like, okay, I'm definitely gonna reach out to her. And you led me through the process of creating my Fresno State account after applying to the CSUs. And then for sure the AB 540, and then like checking my emails every day.
Yeah,
but my biggest resource was you. I went to you for everything.
And I love that. Please, you guys, my students always say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm bothering again. I'm like, no, you're not. Like, this is literally why we're here. And Luis, I remember for you, your application, I mean, there's just a lot of things that you're like, do I answer this? How do I answer it? Like, what do I do? What does it mean? What are the steps? Tell me, what was that process like for you as you were applying to Fresno State?
Honestly, I was like nervous, as well as many other students. I'm first generation in my family. I have 5 siblings, the youngest of all of them as well. And from my mom's side as well, I'm the first one to attend college. And it was like super stressful, super nervous. I wasn't sure if I was doing things right, but there was the Dream Center at Fresno State, and Gabby was there, and like I mentioned, she made this application a lot smoother and transfer so much smoother. But I think that the most nervous thing I was about was not knowing what's next, not knowing if I'm gonna be accepted, not knowing if I don't honestly like what's coming next. Like that was my biggest fear about transferring from Fresno City to State.
Lisa, now that you're here, how should a transfer student navigate now they're here? And you guys are in a very interesting time, right? We're doing this whole college thing in this pandemic. For you, Lisette, it was like you were here in person and then we went to online and now we're kind of hybrid. And what should a transfer student expect, and what should they do as they are navigating this whole situation and coming here?
Well, how you mentioned, it was very different for me at the beginning because I did attend in person fully my first whole year at Fresno State. So it was very different because I could just walk through a campus and be like, or through the office, I'm like, oh, can I make an appointment with this person, blah, blah, blah. Or just go throughout the whole campus, exploring and getting to meet new departments and getting to meet like the staff and everything. But after that transition of in person and going to virtual, it was very different because now it was really hard to get a hold of people. I don't know if it happened to me or it happened to Janelle or Luis as well, but for me, it was very hard at the beginning to get a hold of my professors. The very first time we went into all online, all virtual, it was very hard for me. But I guess what I can say to them is don't overstress yourself, because somehow you will get through it. And it might seem that it's really hard, but it's not. You just have to think about yourself and like, okay, I can actually do this. And if I need to really get a hold of a person, I don't think they will feel bugged if you keep emailing them. Because I know that for a fact. I email Gabby a lot. I really do. So, and I do apologize to her when I email her a lot. I'm like, sorry, I'm bugging you. I know I'm really annoying, but I need to figure this out. Even for the tiniest thing ever, I email her. And I know she's not going to be bugged and she's going to be mad at me for emailing her. And I know that some professors are like that. And others just have to find their way to communicate with them and try to have a relationship with them. So I will say, transfer students, don't panic. I know it's very different, but at some point you guys will get the hold of it and will be like, okay, this is how it is. And this is how my new normal, this is how I'm going to do school. And you'll get used to it. I just say, don't give up and really don't be afraid of asking any questions.
Absolutely. I think that's super important. Don't be afraid of asking questions. And that's the purpose of today, right? That this is the handover is coming now to this side. Jeanette, let me ask you, how do you pay for college? How was that process like for you?
So for me, like I mentioned before, I believed that I wasn't going to be able to attend because of financial reasons. But of course you helped me out and you guided me and told me to apply to the general scholarship at Fresno State, which I recommend. I believe I received 2 scholarships from there. I also applied for the Dream Loan because I needed a little extra money. And then I received money from the middle class scholarship through the Dream Act. And I also got sponsored by the Dream Center at Fresno State. So I definitely recommend reaching out to Gabby. Don't forget to do that stuff. That's mandatory. Well, not mandatory, but it's crucial. And then scholarships. It really helped me out a lot to do that.
Yeah, you guys, I cannot emphasize enough. The Fresno State Scholarship is one application for hundreds of different types of scholarships. Some have been reserved or set aside just for California Dream Act students. So really, all you have to do is just submit it, and it's one application. So again, super critical. Luis, what about you? What was that financial aid process for you?
Honestly, I was in your guys' shoes as well. Last semester, I was attending this virtual meeting, and I learned through this meeting so many things about financial aid. But one of the things that helped me pay for school was the Dream Act application. At first, in the portal, it said that it was the state university grant, which is one of the options that you could also pay for school. But I was able to pay for school through the California Dream Act application, and they paid for literally all my tuition, and I had a little bit of extra money left to pay for some books. I mean, I think the most important thing is that they pay for, like, not necessarily they, but that your school financial aid is covered, because that's the most expensive regardless of the books and stuff. So to me, that was like really important, and super grateful that my financial aid at Fresno State was paid for.
And everybody's financial aid is so different. It's so unique depending on your financial situation. Like Luis and I believe Lisette, you've been able to get some grants, right, to help cover your tuition?
Yeah, I have. Well, after the first time I met you. Yeah, but before I will pay everything out of pocket. So it was really difficult paying. My whole first semester at Fresno State was very stressful.
Yeah.
So,
and see that was one of the things that if you don't really lean on the people who really know the situation, I've met so many students that pay out of pocket like you did, and I'm like, no, you can qualify. And there's a lot of hiccups along the way, right? I believe at the beginning there were some to-do lists that you needed to do for financial aid, Lisette, or something like that.
I believe I did. I don't quite remember. I know one of them was getting something from my community college, but I just couldn't get a hold of it until you stepped in and did the whole process for me, trying to get the document, and that's how it came along. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wish the financial aid process was a little bit easier, smoother for all of you guys, but this is why we're designed, the Dream Centers at your community colleges, with us, with the advocacy that we have, with the financial aid offices, we can help you. Before I let you guys go, if you want to take back to yourselves, just as you were getting ready to apply to Fresno State, what advice would you give to all our students here today? Maybe we'll start with Luis.
I think for me, the most critical thing that I learned through applying to Fresno City to Fresno State was staying on top of the due dates. You want to really stay on top of those due dates because it's going to be really important for when you're at Fresno State. And also, it may seem a lot of information, but honestly, like once you have it all down, you're gonna be like, oh, this was not that hard. Honestly, it's a lot of information, but in the end, when you're done applying, you're gonna be like, it's really simple. Like this is really simple. And honestly, just keep trying and never stop giving up on what it is that you want to do. The reason why I applied to Fresno State as well was because I wanted a higher education. I want to achieve something in life, so just always keep trying. That's my advice for transfer students from Fresno, from any community college you guys have.
Thank you, Luis. What about you, Jeanette?
So I would say to use your resources, reach out to Gabby, to the Dream Center, your counselors if you can. If you know your major, you might want to look up. That's what I did. I looked up who my counselor would be in my college. And well, the Dream Center is going to be your best friend well, at least for me, it has been. It made everything so much easier for me. Stay on top of your emails as well. Your school emails, you apply, you have to create your student portal. So just make sure you're checking your email every day because there's always something new in the to-do list, especially at the beginning. There's new deadlines like every day. Submit your transcripts, submit everything. Just make sure that you're on top of it. That way you don't miss any deadlines and they don't drop you or, do any of that. So just make sure you stay on top of your emails and get connected to the Dream Center.
What about you, Lisa?
Oh man, give so many, but but I think one of them will be to not be afraid, honestly. I know it's hard for some of us because like Jeanette said, for me as well as her, it was very hard for me to be able to pay a whole college, like a whole 4-year university. I was like, how am I gonna do this? But do your research, honestly. Well, I didn't know about this whole Dream Day when I transferred from COS to Fresno State. So I think this is actually a really great help because that's how you guys can get a contact with Gabby. Not just Gabby, everyone in the Dream Center will be like lucky to help you out, and you guys will be lucky to get help from them because honestly, they will help you so much, not just through your financial aid, but through anything that has to do with the Fresno State School process, your classes, whatever. They will somehow figure it out and help you out. And just keep on trying, how Luis said. Don't ever give up because you can get really far in life, especially getting a higher education. And I know it's going to be hard at times, but trust me, keep on going and you will get there. Talking from his experience here, I know Gabby can confirm this by my situation right now. So, just keep trying. Don't be afraid. and check your emails, how they said, because trust me, you will need it. You will
Yeah,
need to know what's going on.
it's so true. Like check those emails. Elise mentioned something at the beginning when we introduced the Dream Day today is I too was a formerly undocumented student when I came to Fresno State. I came at a time that there was no DACA, there was no DREAM Act, there was nothing. Even by the time I graduated from college, I didn't even have DACA at the time. So it was extremely challenging and difficult for me to, why go to college? Why go when I couldn't even work? I couldn't even make a living. And I was such a proud student that I was like, I got my degree in chemistry and I can't even work. And, you know, my dad at the time, he opened up a restaurant and I worked at a restaurant and I even resented that. And now that I'm older, I'm like, come on, like, why did I do this to myself? Like, why was I being so mean? But I didn't want to work at a restaurant, right? Like, and my life flashed before my eyes, like, what was I going to do? But something that I kept reminding myself and that I want to remind all of you is the importance of your education. We don't know what the future is going to be like for a lot of us. We don't know, for those of you who have DACA or some inkling of something to help you move along your path in your careers. But for me, what I held on to was, at least I have my education. And it meant a lot. I didn't know where it was going to take me. But years later, I was able, with the connections that I made through college, my professors, my mentors, years later, I was connected with the right set of circumstances and people with the network. And I was able to become a US citizen many, many, many years later. But I accredited that to my education. So finally, Luis, Jeanette, Lisette, what keeps you grounded in your education and why is continuing your education past community college important to you?
I don't know who would like to start, but I feel
You
like
can
I'm
go
always
ahead.
starting. So for me, what keeps me grounded is honestly coming from how you said being an immigrant. I'm sorry, I'm gonna cry. I'm so sentimental today.
That's okay.
It's
I almost cried
very,
too.
it's very, very proud for me to be where I am right now, especially knowing that you didn't have the money to do it. Probably not in whatever country you come from or even here. Not thinking about, okay, I'm not gonna be able to do this because of money. And let's be honest, till this day, immigrants are being looked at very badly for some people for some reason. But I know for a fact that I can get really far in life, even being an immigrant. And now for sure, I do it for my son. So me trying to get a higher education, it's very important for me, for my son, and for my mom. Oh yeah, I think that's what keeps me grounded. My family.
They're very proud of you. I know they
So,
are.
so that's what keeps me grounded. My son, my mom, and myself, obviously, because I put this work in. But yeah, especially my mother, the one that paid for everything since the beginning till this day. So, that's what keeps me grounded. Being a proud immigrant, being a mom. Of course, I'm married. I'm a single mom, but being a mom at 23 and being my last semester of college is quite difficult. And my mother, I really owe everything to her. So that's what keeps me here and keeps me wanting to go higher in my education as well.
Thank you. What about you, Luis?
I'm sorry, my computer was not letting me unmute for some reason. But honestly, what keeps me grounded as well is similar to Lisette, my mom. I come from a family of, like I mentioned earlier, 5 siblings. I'm the youngest of all of them, and my father was an alcoholic. He passed away due to his alcoholism, and I was always with my mom everywhere we went. Coming from Mexico to the United States, I came with my mom. It was only me and her. I've been with my mom is like the only person I know as a mother and father figure. And she literally has supported me to this date to still continue in college. The main reason why I'm in college is for myself and for my mom, because I want to provide a better future for my mom than the one I was provided. I'm really thankful for the future I was provided by my mom, but from the part of my dad, like I do not want to step in the same steps he was in. I want to give a better life to my mom, and that's the main reason why I'm in college, to support myself and my mom.
Thank you. What about you, Jeanette?
Wow. You guys, you guys touched my heart. Anyways, so it's also because of family. My mom especially. My dad, well, I'm really thankful to my dad too. All that I'm able to do is because he was able to bring me here to the United States. But unfortunately, I did leave my mom behind in Mexico. And I haven't seen her in 10 years. So everything that I do is for her. I want to be able to bring her over here and give her a better life and get her out of the situation that I know that I was also in, which we were in a very humble situation. Yeah. So my mom and of course my dad, I'm really thankful to him. And of course myself, I've always, as a little kid, I always looked forward to learning new things from wherever, from people, from school, from just anywhere. I absorbed any knowledge that I can get. And that is why I'm here. And I push myself because I want to give myself and my future family and my mom a better life. And I hope that you guys can motivate yourself, use that as an anchor. Everything that you have gone through in life is for a purpose. Use it as your strength, not as a debilitator, you know. Yeah.
Thank you. And again, lean on to the stories. All of you here today, lean on to the stories, hang on to that, because we will need it. It's not hard. It's not easy. I'm sorry. It's not easy to transition on and carry on with your education, not knowing what the future is going to hold. But I hope you come to understand that your education is more than just what career you're going to do or what kind of money you're going to be making. Of course, those things are important, but your education is much more than that. And to get to that, you need that GPS, right? Anywhere that you go, you need to know the map. And the GPS and the map, please lean on the support that we have through the Dream Centers today. Thank you so much, Lisette, Jeanette, Luis. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Before I let everybody go, it's almost 5 o'clock. Does anybody have any questions, either to our panelists, to the Dream Center? Anything before we let you go? And thank you. You guys are getting a lot of love. Thank you for sharing your stories. I'm just so touched since the minute I met all three of you. I'm so touched. Do you think you guys are the reason why we do all of this, So you can unmute yourself if you have any questions, or feel free to put them in the chat box. This is your time, you guys. If not, you can always email us for sure. I know we're shy. I know these darn Zoom calls, but I'm glad that you guys were all here. So, and yeah, again, everybody's thanking you guys so much for your stories. I thank you so much. We don't know what it's going to look like for next fall semester. We don't know what it's going to look like for spring. We may or may not. I think it'll still be a hybrid option. Hopefully we get this pandemic in control. But again, any questions to our panelists or to about admissions, financial aid before we let you go? Okay. If not, I'm going to hand it over to Jose Pepe, my former, Pepe, you and I go way back, man. We were in college together. Ya somos viejitos. But
Yes, we
bueno, yo me
are.
llamo viejita, pues.
Well, I'm barely 21. What are you talking about?
Okay. Well, I'm 15 then.
Well, thank you so much, Gavi. And one thing that I do want to say before I conclude this event, thank you to all of you students for being here today. And as I always say, knowledge is power. So please use this information. And as Gavi said this earlier, we know exactly, we understand where you're coming from. I was also a former AB 540 student at Fresno State, and that's where I met Gavi. We were students back then. So please use this information and also reach out to your dream center or your specific campus. Before I conclude this event, I also do want to say two more things. One, and I know Gavi mentioned this earlier, and I believe another student, please check your college emails on a daily basis. Now, especially for those of you that are moving on to in this case, Fresno State, please, it's very critical. And for those of you that are still with us, check your emails because that's how we communicate with you and that's where all this info will be sent out to. And also, lastly, on the week of the 18th through the 22nd, Madera Community College campus, we will be providing 3 different workshops. One will be providing assistance for the California Dream Act application. Financially, we'll be providing that assistance through a workshop for 2 hours. So for those of you that need to renew or apply for this application, please stay tuned. I'll be sending out the flyer either tonight or tomorrow morning, and I'll make sure I'll share that flyer with the other presenters and counselors as well. And also, one of those workshops would be about the story about our president, Angel Reina. He was a undocumented student at one point when he was a little kid in elementary level. So he's going to share with us his journey. So everyone is invited to that workshop. It would be taking place on the 19th. And also, I invited an immigration attorney who will be discussing about the advanced parole. So for those of you interested, please let me know. And I know, like I said, I'm going to be sharing this flyer with the other counselors so they can share that with you guys. So again, thank you so much for being here. And also, Gavi, a huge thank you for putting this event together along with the other partners and colleagues. So I really appreciate it. And you guys have a great one. And keep in mind, you're not alone. There's a lot of people here that is always willing to help you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day, okay? And you know where to reach us, so have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you, Gabby.